Let me tell you something right off the bat. If you ever wake up to the smell of your barn burning and find your best cows dying in the pasture, and some high-heeled, fresh from the city HOA president thinks she's about to bulldoze over your whole life just because you're a farmer, well, buckle up because this is how a real farmer fights back. You know what I mean? Yeah, that happened, and it was just the start. I've lived on this land since before most folks around here had a wrinkle on their forehead pushing 70. Now still farming the same dirt my granddad left me. My wife and I moved out here young dumb and in love with the idea that hard work could build a life worth keeping. Turns out we were right, but no one tells you how hard it is when the land is both your home and your last line of defense. Started with 50 acres. Every time a neighbor put their place up for sale, I pinched pennies, skipped vacations, and quietly scooped up another little chunk of dirt. After 40 years, I was sitting on close to 800 acres, far more than folks around town ever guessed. Drove a rusty old pickup, wore the same faded work jeans for years, never bragged, never complained. Folks just knew me as that guy raising cows and corn. 5 years back, trouble moved in about 2 miles away. Slick developers sold a luxury countryside experience to some big city folks with deep pockets and shallow roots. Bunch of million-dollar houses all painted different shades of beige, little boxes lined up in neat rows, thinking they'd found some kind of rustic paradise. I figured they'd stay out of my way. Man, I was wrong. First it was the complaints. My rooster crowed too early. My cows smelled offensive. The manure truck rumbled too loud on their morning yoga. They'd file a complaint with the county for everything from my chickens scratching the dirt to the direction the wind blew. County inspector came by, shook his head, said, "It's a farm, folks. You bought next to a farm." That should have ended it, but no, these people don't take no for an answer. So what do? They form an HOA slap. A president in charge, a real piece of work too. Blonde hair done up like she's hosting a home shopping network. Makeup so thick she'd leave tracks in a rainstorm, and enough attitude to sour a gallon of milk just by looking at it. Marches right up to me one spring morning, white pants, high heels sinking into the mud, starts waving her clipboard like it's the Constitution. "We need you to join the HOA," she says. "We're expanding the boundaries. It's for everyone's benefit. You know, property values, aesthetics, the community." I almost laughed out loud. "Ma'am, I grow cows and corn. That's the only aesthetic you're going to get out here." Well, her face turned beet red. "Your farm is bringing down our property values, the noise, the smell, the mess. You have chickens running loose and your tractors wake us up." I just smiled and told her I'd been following county rules for 4 decades, and if she didn't like farm life, maybe she picked the wrong place to play pioneer. But see, that's when she stopped asking and started threatening. "We have connections in the county," she says. "Your little operation might not be as safe as you think." And that's when I knew this wasn't just about some grass clippings or a noisy rooster. She was coming for my life's work. That woman kept coming back each time with more attitude and less patience, dragging her little HOA army and even some enforcement officers, big guys in matching polo shirts, trying to look official. One evening, 3 black SUVs roll up my driveway. Out steps the president, her goons, and a folder full of citations. She tells me I've got 48 hours to join the HOA, pay a $500 initiation fee plus $200 a month, or I'll get fined $500 a day until I comply. The paperwork looked official: seals, signatures, pages of rules about lawn height, equipment storage, livestock, proximity. You name it, they had a rule for it. Only thing they didn't have was a shred of legal authority. Still, they posted violations on my barn door, vandalized my mailbox, and when my cows got loose through a fence that someone had sawed, not weathered or trampled but cut clean, they tried to stick me with the county fine. I called the sheriff, but without witnesses or cameras, not much he could do. Complaints piled up with the EPA, the health department, animal control, you name it. Inspectors came out so often I started offering them coffee. Every time they left, shaking their heads, no violations, just headaches for me. Then it got personal. One spring morning, my wife calls in tears, 12 of our cattle dead, the rest sick as dogs. Vet took one look and said, "Looks like poisoning." Test came back antifreeze mixed with grain. The insurance covered most of it, but it was a $35,000 punch to the gut. I could hardly sleep knowing someone out there hated us enough to kill animals just to make a point. Not even a month later at 2 a.m. I wake up to smoke. The barn was burning accelerant, used arson for sure. lost $50,000 in equipment feed the barn itself. The fire chief said it was no accident, and insurance finally paid up but still standing there in the ashes while the HOA president shows up, says accidents happen on farms. Maybe it's time to join the HOA. Let us help you rebuild. The nerve of that woman offering help like it was hush money. That night, my wife and I sat at the table, both scared but more mad than anything. She said, "They think we're just poor farmers easy to push around. They don't know who they're messing with." And that's when I decided I'd had enough. Let me back up a sec. See, while all this was going on, nobody knew just how much land I really owned. Those odd parcels surrounding the development bought them cheap years ago, and now I had an idea, a legal old-fashioned farm-style counterattack. I called up 4 friends who run commercial hog operations. Yeah, pig farms. The kind that really know how to make their presence known. I spent months getting permits, zoning changes, environmental impact reports, the whole 9 yards. Sold those parcels to my friends for cheap on one condition. They run their farms at max legal capacity, never sell or lease to any HOA member, and keep the operations running by the book. Next spring, the first hog farm opened 500 yards from the nearest luxury home. Within a month, 4 hog farms, nearly 2,000 pigs working sunup to sundown. The smell, the trucks, the squealing at 5 a.m. Yeah, you could hear it for miles. The HOA went nuclear complaints. Lawyers' threats even tried to change local zoning, but everything was legal and by the book. All they did was tank their own property values. The president called me demanding I buy back the land, double the price, anything, just make those pigs go away. Sorry, I told her. You should have thought about that before you made an enemy of every farmer in the county. Then came the day she really snapped. She stormed across my yard, screaming at my wife about ruining everything, waving a gun like she was in some bad movie. Pointed it at my wife, pulled the trigger, shot her right in the shoulder. Thank God the deputies were already on the way. And she lived, but that woman sealed her fate right then. Turns out the investigation tied her to the poisoning, the arson, all of it. She went down hard. Attempted murder, arson, animal cruelty, a laundry list of felonies. Jury didn't buy a single tear. Her own husband left her, the HOA went bankrupt fighting lawsuits, and the residents finally woke up and voted to dissolve the whole thing. But I wasn't done. My lawyer made sure restraining orders were in place and deed restrictions blocked the HOA folks from ever owning property here again. I even got it in writing. Anyone connected to that HOA can't buy, rent, or inherit land within 2 miles of my farm ever. When the remaining homeowners tried to sell, those restrictions made sure the bad apples were out for good. The best part: the pig farms are still here. My friends are thriving, and the community finally understands what rural life really means. My wife healed up, still gets a twinge in her shoulder when it rains, but she's tougher than she looks. We built a bigger, better barn, and every time I drive by the old development, I can't help but grin a little. The real lesson: never assume a farmer is powerless. We might look simple, but we know how to play the long game, protect our land, and outlast anybody with more money than sense. Now that fancy HOA president is sitting in prison. The land she once thought was worthless is safe forever, and the only thing left from her reign of terror is a cautionary tale, and well, a lingering hint of hog in the breeze. So let me ask you, do you think justice was served here, or did I go too far? Ever tangled with a neighbor or HOA like this? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your stories. And if you believe farmers deserve some respect, give this a like and let's keep the conversation going.